Jeopardy host Ken Jennings has been called out for not accepting one contestant's answer. On Wednesday's episode of the game show, returning champion Kelly Prue takes on newcomers Isaac Hirsch and Dana Keene. During her first Jeopardy game on Tuesday, Kelly won with a whopping total of $16,801. In the double Jeopardy round in the Don't Go Jason category, Ken, 50, posed a question regarding Jason Schwartzman getting his head kicked in an Edgar Wright film. Isaac was the first to buzz in and was slightly correct with his Scott Pilgrim answer. However, he guessed Scott Pilgrim vs. the Universe. Ken, 50, did not let it slide, but Kelly quickly got the answer correctly, which was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Scott Pilgrim is a series of comic books created by Brian Lee O'Malley, where the 6 original volumes were released between 2004 and 2010. In order, the books are Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness, Scott Pilgrim Gets It Together, Scott Pilgrim vs. the Universe, and Scott Pilgrim's Finest Hour. In 2010, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World became a hit film starring Michael Cera, Chris Evans, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Brie Larson. In an online Reddit forum dedicated to the nightly show, fans called out Ken's Scott Pilgrim call. One wrote, "Ken, seemingly not accepting Scott Pilgrim and requiring the full Scott Pilgrim vs. the World has me wondering if there's a hard and fast rule about movie titles and subtitles. Or if it's more vibe-based on the judge's part. Versus the World is clearly de-emphasized in that movie's marketing materials. Would the full Terminator 2 Judgment Day instead of just Terminator 2? A second replied, Isaac said versus the Universe, but in general, it is absolutely vibe-based. There's other Scott Pilgrim media with different titles after the name, so that would likely influence if they would require more than just the name, a third pointed out. A fourth wrote, I would assume that titles that include, or suggest, colons don't require anything after the colon. I agree that Scott Pilgrim is pretty unambiguous. However, I'm not at all surprised that they didn't accept it. I can't think of any other title where you wouldn't need to supply both halves of the verses. Someone else argued the person above's point, but if other Scott Pilgrim media are a factor, then you could argue Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is ambiguous since that's also the title of the second book. By the end of the first round, Isaac was in first place with $4,000, Dana in second with $3,900, and Kelly in last place with $3,600. By the end of the round, Isaac was way ahead of his competition with $18,000 and the others with $8,000 and $8,300. The final Jeopardy question based on historic women stumped all three players. Kelly finished with $7,000 and Dana finished with $300. Isaac finished with $19,185 and will continue his Jeopardy journey on Thursday's episode. The incident. It was a tense evening on the set of Jeopardy. As the contestants were racing against the clock, their minds firing on all cylinders, grasping for the correct responses. The category was classic movies, and the answer appeared on the screen. Mary, a high school history teacher from Ohio, buzzed in confidently. What is on the waterfront? Correct, Ken Jennings said with his characteristic calm. The crowd gave a polite round of applause as Mary's score increased, and she smiled, pleased with herself. The next clue was revealed, another film-related question. This 1939 film, based on a book by Margaret Mitchell, is one of the highest-grossing films of all time. Mary buzzed in quickly again. What is Gone with the Wind? Correct, Ken acknowledged once more, and the applause grew louder. Mary was on a roll. As the game progressed, the stakes grew higher. With a few questions left on the board, the category switched to 1980s pop culture. The clue was revealed. This 1984 film, directed by Ivan Reitman, features a group of scientists who start a ghost removal service. John, an IT specialist from California, buzzed in, albeit hesitantly. What is Ghostbusters? That's correct, Ken affirmed, and John's score saw a significant boost. The game continued, tension mounting as each contestant vied for the lead. The final moments of the episode were upon them, and the category was blockbuster hits. The last clue of Double Jeopardy was displayed. This 1993 film, directed by Steven Spielberg, is about a theme park with living dinosaurs. Sarah, a librarian from New York, buzzed in quickly. "What is Jurassic Park?" "Correct," Ken responded, but something in his tone seemed off. Sarah furrowed her brow but didn't say anything. The controversy. The moment that sparked controversy came in Final Jeopardy. The category was famous film quotes. The clue was: this 1942 film features the line, "Here's looking at you, kid." The contestants scribbled furiously on their screens. As the music ended, Ken began with John, who had wagered everything. John's response: "What is Casablanca?" "That is correct," Ken said, and John's total doubled. The audience clapped enthusiastically. Next was Sarah, who had bet conservatively. Her response was the same as John's: "What is Casablanca?" "Correct," Ken confirmed, and her score increased, though she still trailed behind John. Finally, it was Mary's turn. She had written, "What is Casablanca?" Ken's face remained impassive as he examined her response. "I'm sorry, Mary. That's incorrect." A stunned silence fell over the studio. Mary looked bewildered, as did many in the audience. Whispers began to circulate, and some audible gasps could be heard. Ken moved on with the show, congratulating the winner and wrapping up the episode, but the seed of discontent had already been planted. The fallout. The controversy erupted almost immediately on social media. Fans took to Twitter and Reddit, expressing outrage and confusion over the ruling. #JeopardyGate quickly began trending, with viewers demanding an explanation. How can Casablanca be wrong? It's literally the same thing. #JeopardyGate, one user tweeted. Ken Jennings needs to explain why Mary's answer was denied. This isn't right. #Jeopardy, another wrote. The debates raged on various platforms, with some defending the decision, citing the show's rules on exact spelling and pronunciation, while others argued that the spirit of the answer should have been considered. The controversy even caught the attention of major news outlets, with pundits and talk show hosts discussing the fairness of Jeopardy's rules. Ken Jennings' response. Under mounting pressure, Ken Jennings took to social media to address the situation. In a series of tweets, he explained the show's guidelines. Jeopardy has a long-standing rule that responses must be both accurate and precise. While Casablanca is phonetically correct, it is not the exact title of the film. Consistency in applying these rules ensures fairness for all contestants. That said, I understand the frustration and appreciate the passion of our fans.